All right, I am very happy to welcome my first duo to this series. I'm usually talking to one person at a time, so today's definitely a treat. I have Holly Benedict and Jim Benedict here on the call with me, and they're joining me from just outside Charlotte, where they live and work. And Jim and Holly, I know y'all will talk a little bit about kind of your story here in a moment, but just by way of just a very brief introduction. You're both trained accountants now, both working in various aspects of the wealth management industry. Your connection to UT is it's fairly new. I know that you do not have schooling here, but you are spending a bit of time in Knoxville now because you have a daughter who is here at UT studying in the College of Business. So Holly, Jim, welcome. Glad you're with me today. Glad you're with us, and thanks so much for taking your time to just do this.
We've been looking forward to it.
Yes.
Yes, well, so let's just get started. So, I kind of hinted at kind of what you all do, but just in a 1 or 2 minute version of kind of your jobs right now. What are your jobs right now? So, who wants to go first?
You want me to go first? Yeah. All right. The younger one goes first. So I am a senior relationship manager in the partnership group at Wells Fargo in wealth and investment management. So I always say I have the best seat in the house, and I actually use it as a recruiting tool when I interview folks to come into our group. And I say that because I get to work with advisors and many employees across wealth, but I also get to look across the organization and work with all the different lines of business in the company. So what does partnerships look like? It's a little bit abstract, and I have to explain it several times when people ask me, what is my job at Wells Fargo? So basically, I help advisors make connections into other lines of business to meet their clients' needs for business lending, personal lending, so non-investment products, mortgages. But I also help other parts of the company refer their clients to wealth for investments or financial planning. So we have what we call two-way partnerships at Wells Fargo. I also, as part of that role, I use a lot of my accounting and finance skills and background to do business analysis. So I have to develop what is the opportunity on meeting more of our clients' financial needs, growing our share of wallet at Wells Fargo. I also measure the success of selling additional products that our clients need all in one place at Wells Fargo. So a lot of marketing, but then I also use a lot of my background in business reporting and analysis.
Yeah, so we've seen. I know in the recent years we've seen this trend in industry of anyone and everyone sort of trying to become more or less a one-stop shop, right? For all the needs. You're not. No one is just a bank. No one is just an advisor. No one is just a retirement planner. It's sort of all of these things combined, and so sounds like you're right in the middle of that, sort of from a strategic side inside Wells Fargo, and you're connecting those pieces.
Yes, I've been there 27 years, so a lot of opportunity and lots of different roles available at the company.
Yes, and you see all of them. Yeah. So Jim, what about you?
I'm more tactical. I am a senior wealth strategist and private business strategist with PNC Private Bank in the Charlotte area. So my job, I have a background in tax accounting and financial accounting. My job is really to work with our team to advise our clients around their financial, retirement, tax, estate tax, and business succession plans. So we have a team of people who are investment managers, all of whom are chartered financial analysts, by the way, bankers who manage credit and lending, trust officers, and then people who manage the overall relationship. And my job is really to meet with clients, understand what their needs are, how they want to live their lives, and come up with a plan that will now enable them to go through life and transition through their lives, whether they're a business owner or just a wealthy family, and live the rest of their life the way they want to, given the resources that they have. I use my accounting background and finance background both nearly every day that I do my job.
So just at a very basic level, are you telling me things like understanding time value of money actually matters?
It does matter. In fact, that's
understanding income statements and how they flow into balance sheets and what cash flow is, that matters?
Matters, yes. So let's use a business owner as an example. One of the things that my background, coming out of the financial side of accounting and then going back onto the tax side, has been very helpful, because going into a business, changes in the balance sheet either stay on the balance sheet because you're trading assets or liabilities, or they're going to run, if they don't do that, they run through the income statement. And understanding how that operates and what the capital structure of a business looks like is really important on advising the business side about how they can generate value. But it's also important to the owner, how it generates income for the owner. And so from the tax perspective, most business entities in America today are flow through. They're either an S corp or an LLC. And so that means they're not paying entity level tax. The income is flowing to the owner's individual income tax returns. But the income that the business owns is entirely separate from the cash flow that is available to the owner. And the cash flow, when you're planning on the personal side, is really what's important. The income from the business is going to generate tax liability, but the cash distributions out of the business are what enables business owners to live their lives. And so understanding how that plays out over a very long period of time is critical. It's funny you mentioned time value money. I would say that out of everything I learned in undergraduate over 30 years ago, the time value money is the thing I use every day. I have an Excel spreadsheet open and I'm constantly running present value, future value. When a client is looking at two different investment options, I'm running internal rate of return and net present value. Fortunately, for the most difficult calculation is education funding, because of the multiple discounting. And we have software that does that for us now, but you have to understand how it operates. And so I pay attention to time value money, learn how all that works. We won't have to use the charts anymore to do it manually, but the software.
That's right. We've never, I don't think my students have ever seen a present value table and all of that. So I just I threw those away a long time ago. But there's, you can learn a lot just by staring at those and thinking about where those numbers came from. But yeah, so well, we're working hard at developing those fundamentals. So and it's always an adventure. So, but speaking of adventures, so I'm sitting here in front of a married couple, both trained as accountants, now both in wealth management, in different areas of wealth management, working for different companies. I'm just interested in how all this came about. Just for perspective. I'm a finance person and my wife is absolutely not. And so we're completely different in that. So that's not my story at all. So I'd just like to hear a little bit of your story, how all this came about.
Yeah, they do call us the bean counters at the gym, right? So Jim and I met in 1995. in Winston-Salem. We were both part of the control department at Wells Fargo, or actually Wachovia. It's been Wells Fargo now quite some time. I forget. It was Wachovia then. And I was part of the control training program. I had just graduated from college, and Jim had been there since 1991. After a short time in accounting.
I was in a small public accounting
So
firm.
you accounting grads, and these were straight up sort of traditional accounting jobs that you both kind of started in.
Yes. So I became a divisional controller for ATM and debit card, all the budgeting, the revenue and expense. And Jim was the controller for North Carolina Bank. So we had very similar jobs. I got my CPA license a couple of years later. Jim was already a CPA. So we had very similar backgrounds when we came together, and similar jobs. And then we got married, and things changed a little bit as far as our career journey.
Yeah, we got married 24 years ago. 24 years ago yesterday, actually, it was our anniversary. So we got married, and somebody had to go because of the nepotism rules, and it was me. I was ready to do something different. And in addition to being the controller for banking and mortgage, I was also the controller for this startup group called e-commerce. And they were just getting off the ground. Wachovia had just launched a website in 1998. This was before iPhones, before electronic banking on the internet.
E-commerce then, so that's what, so now we call it commerce.
We call it commerce, right? At this point, it was
new. It was new.
It was very new.
It had the E.
It was very new, and the so I went over there to be an alliance analyst. A lot of the capabilities that banks needed to use back then were developed outside of the banking infrastructure. For years, banks had developed their own technology. That wasn't the case with e-commerce, although it is now. And so I was looking at companies that were in their infancy, companies like Amazon and Google, and an old one that's no longer around called AOL. And how we could use their technology in order to do business on the internet. And so I wrote white papers and things like that, did analysis on the ability for some of these companies to continue as a going concern. So I was doing financial analysis and projections about how e-commerce was going to evolve. So I was right there on the ground floor. So that was my next job was going into e-commerce.
Well, I stayed in traditional accounting functions. So I took over the management reporting for Wachovia, implemented FASB 131 segment reporting for the company. And then after First Union and Wachovia came together, it was still Wachovia. I went into the wealth management group, and wealth management was a new division for Wachovia. And I implemented the management reporting processes and budgeting, planning for wealth management for Wachovia.
Yeah, and when First Union and Wachovia merged, I really saw a risk to us as a family in that we were both in staff jobs. Neither one of us were client facing, but I had practiced tax briefly. And so I decided I wanted to go back onto the financial planning tax side of the house where I faced clients. So I went to work in the private client group in the financial planning division. And eventually I wound up, I did some software implementation for a little while. Eventually, at my annual review, my boss sat me down, and this was 19 years ago, said, when are you going to sit for the CFP exam so you can get in front of clients? So I challenged that because I was already a CPA. I just took a review and then went and sat for the exam. And I wound up getting promoted to managing director and then senior director, where I led the planning group for the Carolinas my last year at Wells. And at that point, Wells was downsizing and consolidating. And I went back into public accounting in a boutique firm here in Charlotte, where I was doing tax work, and I was also doing some estate planning for clients. It's hard to do that on the clock, where you're having to have an hourly billing rate. So I had a friend from Wachovia that started up PNC's group here and asked me to come over there. And I've been there for the past almost 10 years.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
I'm still, so Jim's at PNC, I'm still at Wells Fargo. We're Wachovia, right before the Wells Fargo merger, moved us to Charlotte. And I was promoted to run the partnership reporting for a company-wide partnership group, which was really cool because it's really hard to do anything at the enterprise level, because when banks are so big, a lot of times they're siloed. And so I did run the partnership group, the partnership reporting team for a while. Then after Wells bought Wachovia, I went into wealth management, where I am now, and moved from reporting to my current relationship manager role. So my boss at the time, I would say this is probably one of the biggest pivots I made that was so great. My boss at the time said, I love your reporting background. I love the skill set you had. It's so foundational, but you seem like a people person. So let's take those skills and put you on your relationship management journey to develop programs and work with the advisors to help clients. So that's what I'm still doing now.